Hola, friends. This is Sarah May for another episode of Help Me Be Me, and I have my very first guest, and it's my friend Sophie Olson. So I'm very excited. And go ahead.
Hi.
we are going to talk about Sophie. I basically wanted to talk to Sophie because she's an inspiring girl, and my whole show I try to give people tools, and hopefully those tools inspire people. And for me, Sophie, you embody a lot of what I preach. And so I kind of want to show everybody else what you are like, because I feel like you help me embody all of the things that I aspire to embody.
Aww, thanks.
So a little bit about Sophie. You can correct me if I didn't say this. She's a choreographer, a fitness expert. She's a trainer. She's beautiful. She's healthy. She's sweet as pie, and she's spunky as a shot of Fireball.
Whoa.
And she maintains her balance and happiness despite managing a shit ton of activities. I shouldn't have said that S word. Oh,
why?
Because then I put a rating on it. Yeah, it's fine. Not to mention an adorable little boy named Escher.
Yep.
So why I think she's an inspiring person is because she's one of those girls who's extremely kind and has a very sensitive awareness of others. So there's that thing that a lot of people don't have, that there's a sense that there would be a scenario where they would maybe cut you down or maybe hurt your feelings or maybe not laugh at your jokes, and you're the opposite of that. And I feel like it's one of those rare traits in somebody where everybody feels comfortable around you.
Aww,
and
that's so nice.
It's true, but I'm like, that's and you're also very resourceful. Like there's some ingredient in people that allows them to be successful in life, no matter what obstacles they go through. And the scientists have only been able to reduce it down to someone's resilience and resourcefulness. And in my opinion, the resilience and resourcefulness are just the building blocks of passion. And so I think whatever you have this burning passion and drive that is just it's like this elixir. It's this amazing energy to be around. And it's always kind of this reset button. So I guess I wanted to ask you, my first question, where do you think that comes from? If there was one moment in your life when you feel like you realized what you wanted and that you could have it, was there one pivotal moment for you, as a child or as a young girl, where you were you saw your window into your own potential, I guess?
I think that, so I'm from a very small town, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities for us in the small town. And, I was raised with parents who were from a very even smaller town where the population was 100 people. Okay, so they weren't exposed. They didn't have a lot of opportunities growing up. And then I always felt when I was very little, I wanted to go on an adventure, and I wanted to go take dance class, and I wanted to go take acting classes. And in the small town where I'm from, there really aren't many places where you can go do that. And so I remember always feeling the need for an adventure, and I wanted to explore, and I really wanted to always had a lot to say, and felt like saying it vocally, using words sometimes was harder to say. And so I remember being 3 years old, my mom really catering to what I needed, and just knowing that I was a child who just did things differently than other kids. She would I don't remember, but I guess specifically I would ask for, I want to go do, and remember I was French. I didn't start speaking English fluently until I was 13 years old. And so it was a thing where okay, we're going to make a room a theater so you can go do a show. So she would turn off all the lights in the big living room and then put a record player. And then it was, are you familiar with the Disco Disney album?
I would like to be.
It's amazing. Macho Macho Death, a really good song. and she would sew me costumes. So I'd wear a bat cape and a tiara, a princess, whatever, crown.
So I feel like your mom was kind of the one that could see you for what you could be and should be.
Yeah, she was always let's do this. And then I would dance in circles for hours and do this. And then my father, we would watch Solid Gold together. And so we
awesome.
So then I would come out of the bath, and I had long hair. And then the only way for me to sit still so I can untangle my hair was to put Solid Gold. And then we would watch Solid Gold, and he would untangle my hair, and and I would stop and dance. So that was like a moment where, it wasn't really a moment. I think it's just like my parents and teachers provided me with tools because I needed something all the time. I needed something new. When I was inspired, I went for it 110%. But I didn't know that being as inspiration or passion. That's just how my body functions.
Right.
But the downside is I get so focused on something. If the outcome didn't happen the way I wanted, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Find a different focus, different passion, and just kind of build the blocks again.
If there was one, because for me, at least in my life, like the biggest failures were like the biggest opportunities, and they were like the building blocks for the next amazing level, like you could reach in Mario Land, where you're like, oh, I didn't even know I could jump through clouds, but I had this thing here. So what would you say is like the biggest failure that provided the greatest gift in your life?
Whoa. Biggest failure. Okay, so maybe, oh my gosh. Okay, if I break it down on like, let's just talk about dance, because that's my world. So when I was in 10th grade, I got transferred to a performing arts school because the high school I was attending didn't have a performing arts program. And anyways, so I went to this performing arts program. So in my hometown, I was like the best dancer, the best at what I was. And then I got thrown into this huge school where I was the crappiest dancer. Literally, I was the worst. Like my teachers they would critique me so much that I was like, I literally could not complete a whole dance class without being critiqued because I didn't have great technique. And I also, the only thing though, they were like, well, she has a lot of feeling when she dances, but not technique. And so I remember being like 16 years old going, this is awful, because it would make, when someone tells you you're so good at something your whole life, you are so good, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, you kind of get used to that. And then when you go into a world where you're not, either two things happen. Breaks you, that's it. It kills you as a human being, you're done. Or you replug and try to like, okay, how am I going to be the best in this world or how am I going to function in this world where this is like a total new territory? And so,
what do you think made you decide to go for it?
Well, because I had no other options. My situation where the school board paid for me to go to this school.
Right.
They paid for my boarding. They paid for my my food. They paid for my transportation. I was sent an hour and a half away from my parents' house. So it's not like, this is too hard, I'm going to go back to my comfort zone. I had to do it. Everyone made sacrifices for me. But not only that, I saw opportunities. I saw that there was other stuff. And this is a school I was dealing with professionals. And even though they were on my butt all the time, they were on my butt for a reason. They could sculpt me. And I needed to be sculpted instead of being the sculptor. I was like, okay. So it took me a while. But I really did see as like, this is going to lead to something else.
Was there a moment, like, I know that I had a similar experience in art school where there's like, your ego has been chiseled to nothing, to the point where you just can't hear any criticism. Like anytime someone tries to criticize you, you're like, no, that's not what I don't like that idea. Like you start to build walls. Was there a moment where you finally were able to stop doing that? And like, would you say it was like, what inspired that moment? Was it you hit kind of a bottom, or was it more of like I don't know, like
I think that there might have been a moment in my adult life, early adult, when I moved to Los Angeles 10 years ago. So there's like an equation, right? In my head, there was an equation. You've done this your whole life, and now you're good enough. So now you do the second step, and you do this. Now you're good enough, and now you do this third step, and then you take the steps, and then at the end, you get the prize, right? But I didn't take those steps. I was different. I did things differently, but I try to mold myself and be like, well, I need to do this now because everybody's doing that. Like, for instance, when I need to be choreographing for a ballet company. I am not that's not my strength. Well, if you can't do that, then you can't move the next step. Like, that was a thing, right? And then when I moved here, it was like, kind of like a reinvention, like, okay, so, and then thinking, what can I do with my skills? I haven't done A, B, C, D, but I was like, but I do have something. I do have something different. And so just basically going on instinct. Mm-hmm. And like, what do I have that I love? And what do I have that makes me excited about doing? And how can I use that to my benefit? And so I think that one of the biggest moments was just coming here, and I had joined a group therapy for non-working actors and dancers. And I was sitting in group, and everyone was talking about their stuff, blah, 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 blah. And there's legit problems, like they're having huge contract problems with the feature film they're supposed to be on, and blah, 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 they may not do it. Like huge, big problems. And when it came to my turn, I was 27 years old, and I was like, I'm a failure. I don't know where I fit in this world, and I don't think I'm good enough for this. And then everyone was just really uncomfortable. And I was like, but then, and the lady who led everything, and she said, okay. And then she had said, this is what she is feeling. This is her reality. These are her thoughts. This is her reality. Because I was like very upset. Your reality is you're trying to negotiate a $250,000 contract with a film that's shooting in Prague. Her reality is she does not know where she fits in this world. It's a big deal.
And I love her.
Yeah. And then so she's like, so this is a group support for artists, but it's not in LA. It's, I feel like artists, it's not, yes, you've done sitcom work and you've done feature films. That doesn't necessarily make you an artist. It makes you an actor, right? I'm not saying it doesn't, but it doesn't necessarily make you. And then to have this trying to find your voice and to be able to express yourself, and you've been struggling your whole life, and you're in your mid-20s, and you're like, okay, where is it? So she just said this is her reality, and then coached me and stuff. But that almost went like, whoa, it's okay. This is your reality. Now you just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
It took me a little bit of time, but then it made sense. I don't know if it was a particular situation, but definitely something that someone told me and said, and I've heard this my whole life. Whatever your thought is, it's real. So if you think,
for sure.
Yeah, so if you think you're the most beautiful woman in the world, then you are, because that's your thought. If you think that you are going to, I don't know, if you think you're going to fail at everything you do, then you are, because your thoughts are so powerful. So to be able to control your thoughts.
That's so true. That made me think of one of my therapists that I loved. She said, because I remember saying something similar, like, I'm just losing my mind. Mm-hmm. And I was like having a big giant like freak out. And she was like, okay, go for it. I was like, what? She's like, just, do it. Go lose your mind. Like, go have a breakdown and then get up tomorrow and come back here. Like, it was like, you can fall apart sometimes. It's not the end of the world.
That's so cool.
And it's like, just remembering like, all right, you're crying. Cool. All right, now let's get started.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just got to do that part.
It's just a really good point. I feel like sometimes you have to just let yourself like lose at something. You have to hurt at something, and you have to just not be able to wake up, like not wake up, pardon me, but get up in the morning and do something. You need to have those moments to like regroup and go, okay, shucks, what am I doing now? Like, what's my next step? Yeah.
I feel like anytime when you're stuck and things aren't working, it's a sign that you've been like applying the same thing again and again, and it's time to change your method. Like, it's like,
that's exactly where I'm at, right? Where I have been since in the last 2 years since I've had the baby. It's the whole thing of like, you want big changes, you need to make big steps.
Right.
And that's how I see it. People say baby steps. This does not apply when you need big change in your life or in your personality or in your thought process. Like, you need to make a big change. Mm-hmm. And a big change is maybe, okay, now and it sounds minor, but like I know, maybe my big change is I go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. It is a big change if you're up till 2 o'clock in the morning every night working. You know what I mean? Like, it seems little on a larger scale, but it's a big change personally, right? Or my big change equals big results.
Right.
That's what I think.
That makes a lot of sense. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think also, collective, like, try everything. Like, when I have something I want to attack, I try every single thing at once. Just because I'm like, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to blanket it, you know? I'm going to take this class. I'm going to do this person.
Yes.
I'm going to read this book. I'm also going to maybe try this weird new experimental one.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, another reflective question.
Uh-huh.
If you could talk to yourself as a young girl, what would you tell yourself to let go of? Something that maybe hurt at the time.
Oh, gosh. I actually think about this often. I have a thing that I tell my students, especially my high school students, when I'm choreographing with them, I say, think about future Sarah. Don't think about present Sarah, think about future Sarah. How is your decision that you're going to make today about your future going to affect future Sarah? And they go, wow, that makes sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have said to 20-year-old Sophie, just be gentle on yourself. Like, just love yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, I know. I always say that. That's like one of my reminders to myself. It's like, don't forget to enjoy it. Like, all this stuff you're trying to do, or all the, like, progress you want to make, or all the goals you have, like, don't forget you're in it today. The only day you live in is today. So you might as well, like, enjoy that day, because it's not going to happen again.
Exactly.
You don't live in tomorrow.
No.
I like that. What would you tell a person? Because you are, like, such a, like, well-rounded, healthy, spirited, energetic.
Thanks, Sarah.
Like, I would say you're holistically beautiful, because you're, like,
person.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about that.
Well, but you're, like, you're very put together, very beautiful, like, in a Disney princess way.
Wow. Okay.
Because you were a Disney princess.
I was my
But you're also just, like, you know that thing where you can see a beautiful person, or like a modelly person, and they just look ugly because there's something about them that just doesn't feel kind and inviting. Like, I feel like you just emanate this light.
That's the nicest thing.
And I would say, because I know a lot of people struggle with just body image stuff, and that can just pollute your energy. Just make, like, if you have body image issues, it colors everything. It colors the sky. It colors the, like, experience you have of other people. It colors every conversation you have. It's like it's almost like living with a disease, like permanent, like
it is
sick.
a disease. Yeah.
Just, I know that you're a fitness expert and you coach a lot of people. You're a trainer. You're also beautiful holistically, which I think is, like, one of the most, that is what beauty is, in my opinion. It's just somebody that, like, on the outside, you know, they're healthy and obviously, like, put effort into taking care of themselves, and, like, I guess how they portray themselves is a representation of what is on the inside. But the most important part is that bubbling spirit and kindness that I think you embody, holistic beauty. And so I would say, like, what would you say to anybody that out there that's, like, struggling with loving themselves and maybe just needs, what would you tell them?
Well, that's definitely something that I think about often, because in my line of work, I deal with that almost every single time I work with new clients, or even clients that I've had for years. Like, my challenge, like, how to convince a, really beautiful, tall, thin teenager that she is just beautiful the way she is, and that, she might be 5'8" and weighs 100 pounds or whatever, that she's not fat, or who cares if her thighs touch? Like, how do you tell somebody that? Because that's not what the real issue is, right? The real issue is something else. They're either comparing themselves to somebody else, or there's some issues they don't see themselves the way they're. And
I think it's when people at some point decided that the only thing under their control to make people like them or to feel safe was to
beauty,
to be like, some other version of beauty. So it's like that becomes the definition of your beauty. It's like, if I can match blank. But that's, in my opinion, it's just a label for, like, pain. It's like a misnomer in their person that's like, it's totally like this deadly trap.
It really is. And I think that what's really hard is that I work with a lot of dancers or even, kids or adults, and there's always that question of, like, you know, it's hard because as an instructor, as a leader, I have to remind myself each day that it's not my responsibility to fix them, and it's not my responsibility to heal them or to cure them. My goal is to offer support and to be able to make them feel like when they're with me, they're in a safe, creative space, and in whatever capacity you are, you're beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I really try to use positive reinforcement when I'm working with them. But that's a really great question. I wish I had the answer to that. When I work with like my autistic students, there is never a question of beauty or not beauty, or there isn't. It's a question of like the biggest thing is like when I work with them, I make sure I wear the same clothes all the time, because if I don't, I see them once a week. If I don't, it is chaos. I need to be exactly the same. One time I had my hair up in a bun, and it was really, really hard.
Wow.
Yeah, well, the little girl's like the big blonde curly hair, so it was really hard. So it's kind of like my image to them. Like Miss Sophie wears black pants and wears this like a uniform that I wear for them, and it's important for that because they have association. There's comfort in that. Maybe that's the same thing with people that have body image. There's comfort in knowing.
It's true.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
If I'm 10 pounds lighter, if my skin is flawless, or if I have longer eyelashes,
totally,
that equals beauty, and control equals comfort.
Exactly it. It's exactly it. When you're like feeling pain and you have some source to attribute it to, then you're like safe with it. I was gonna say, if I was to answer the other question about what you offer people, because you are teaching me how to dance with my fiance.
And it's really fun.
I would say the thing that you bring to everybody that you work with is like, because you're really good at making people feel great at what they're doing and making them feel like really special and like confident. And like you have the ability to like really pad people in the ways that they need it so that they feel completely confident. And I think what I would say the universal trait that you have is like you allow people's focus to be on joy and like it's not about the exterior. It's like they can lose themselves with you because you're like almost like carrying them along with just your like glance. It's like I see you and you're awesome. And just that ability for somebody else to see them as awesome, it's like food, it's just like it feeds your soul just to have that insight into yourself, especially if you don't really like yourself, just to be around someone that's like, you're doing great. It just feels amazing, I think that's like, that was actually my last question I was going to ask you is like, what have you seen in dance therapy, and whether that's with couples or if it's with kids or with like people you coach or train, like, is there one thing you found universally that like just changes everyone for the better, or that you think is like a wonderful practice or part of it
in dance?
Yeah.
For me personally, if I can sum it up in one sentence, I'm going to try. Dance for me is a complete release and letting go. And so when I dance by myself in my studio, 5 hours, 20 to 50 hours a week, before I do any kind of rehearsal, I have this moment for me. And that release, I have a video camera that shoots all of my rehearsals, like when I'm working choreographing or all the experimental work. And if you look back at some of the footage, some stuff is hilarious and I'm talking to myself, and then some stuff is like, holy cow, because I'm dancing to release and not to perform. And I am a different person once that happens. And I feel like I'm a much better dancer when I'm doing it for myself. The minute I'm in front of people, it's like I'm so raw and naked and vulnerable alone. And when I'm in front of people, I'm like, I don't really want you to have this. It's my gift.
Right.
So when I work with people, I want them to think that it's structured release. Like it has to be structured because I'm working on stuff. Even with especially with the kids with limitations that I work with, or if I'm working with Or actually, if I'm working on a really big dance shoot and we have 12 hours to learn to do this.
I am familiar with such.
Yes, such things where you have so much to do and like really dangerous
Sophie,
lifts.
we're having like inside jokey time, but Sophie choreographs for Zooey Deschanel, who is also one of my oldest friends, and
Hey-o.
that's the joke we were making. So sorry.
Yes, that's our inside joke. And like, but I want them, and the one thing I try to tell my dancers professionally is, if this does not feel right for you, I don't want you to do this, because we will be able to tell on camera or on stage, or I will know that you're holding back, and that's really crappy, because when I dance, what you're telling us through movement is a language that no one can put words on.
Yeah.
And so I want to see that. And if you're like, I hate this thing, or I don't like landing on my neck, or whatever, this is something that and even if it's the most beautiful concept that I have, dancers tell me.
Totally.
And it works pretty well. And with the younger kids, I always go from a point of fun and laughter is a release for kids. So whatever is fun, and then with my my handicapped kids, those who have physical limitations, props, whatever makes them release themselves. But always with kids, it's usually voice or laughter, which is their release. And then with professional dancers, or whatever, I can go into a different thing. But I'm not sure what your question was.
Yeah, no, that all was really... I like that.
Release, dance.
It's true, because that was actually one of the things me and Adam talked about in the car, was after we left our dance class, that there was one thing that you could tell was not feeling right, and you were like, no, let's tweak it, like let's find a fix, so that, because it's like, it's true, you can feel what everyone's feeling when they're in that place, like, and it's more important that we were enjoying it
and
than it
connecting and
technically perfect. Yeah,
and that was one thing too when I struggled as a professional dancer, is like going into rehearsal or doing the same piece over and over again, and you love the choreographer, you love the music, you love your partner, but you hate most of the dance because it either hurts your body, or you feel like it's dangerous, or it just doesn't feel good in your body. Doing a kick line when you're 5'2" with girls who are 5'6" is a huge challenge, right? Mm-hmm. And that will make you like struggle every time you go to, because you have to work harder. So like little things like that. I really try to keep dance as a way to communicate instead of as a way to show off.
I love that. Well, it shows through. I was actually going to ask you if you could tell everyone your just your website and your different. You have so many different businesses, but the main three, I guess.
Okay, yes. So my choreography website, which is also associated with my dance company, is called Sophie Olson Dance Explosion. Olson, Olson. And then the educational branch from that dance company is called S.O.D.E School of Performing Arts. So S.O.D.E is the initial of Sophie Olson Dance Explosion, S.O.D.E. And that's the Mobile Performing Arts School, where we go into schools, we create curriculum and programs to accommodate whatever the school needs.
Yeah, budget-wise.
Budget-wise, or whatever we need to do a dance program, we have no idea what to do, and then I'll go and write a curriculum or whatever. And then the third one is we choreograph for special events, and we specialize in like wedding dances, and we custom make dances for bride and grooms, or daddies and daughters, or bridal parties.
Yay, which she's teaching me, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will put also that on my Teaspoon of Happy site. So in closing, why I feel that you are so important in my life is that you remind me of who I want to be and of my potential. And I feel like that is invaluable in people. And I feel like if you do that for me, you definitely give it to everybody else that you interact with.
Sarah, that's so nice.
Including the kids that you teach. So I would now say that I would like to aim that towards the audience and say that if you have people around you, you have the potential to unlock so much happiness and awareness of the greatness inside of themselves just by seeing them and just by acknowledging it in them. So if there's somebody that you interact with, even at work or at home or whatever, just call out in them what you see in them that is great, and you will just, it's almost like watering a flower. It's amazing. Because everyone needs a window, and in order to know that they can be greater, sometimes someone needs to see it in them. So I celebrate that in you, Sophie. And
Thank
I
you.
would also encourage you to check out Sophie's website. And also, please review me on iTunes because it helps me a lot. And don't forget to smile. Bye.
Bye.